Hello everyone and welcome back guys to a brand new video where today we're here back with round 12 of season 1 of the F1 22 Haas Road to Glory. Yesterday we are finally back with this series once more. Of course, if you missed out on the crazy weekend from Austria, I would highly recommend going back and checking that out. A couple of brilliant races from the Styrian Mountains. But today though, yes, we return to La Castellet, often a track in the past F1 games that has actually served me quite well. So fingers crossed, you know, this weekend should on paper be a track that suits our Haas car very nicely as well there. In terms though of the current pecking order, then you can see we have still got one upgrade in the works. There, a major chassis weight reduction part. As you can see, McLaren have just about got the jump on us in a very tight scrap in the midfield there, so fingers crossed we can try and get back ahead of them as we head towards the summer. Championship wise though, Charles Leclerc still leads the way. Ferrari still absolutely dominating in the Constructors' Championship there. Hamilton dropping back away behind Max Verstappen. There are Sergio Perez and George Russell now just 1 and 4 points even, I should say, further back there. We, though, had a really good weekend in Austria, brought ourselves ahead of Alonso, brought the team as well up into 4th place there, and now we want to try and hang on to it throughout the second half of the championship. So, of course, if you're new around here and you do want to enjoy the video, make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well for daily F1 22 content. Of course, at the moment, I'm trying to get ahead on videos. You know, I'm going to be away next week, so that's why, you know, at the moment, we're trying to get ahead on videos, everything like that, so I cannot thank you guys enough for the continued support on our work there. But yeah, gonna have to take maybe a grid penalty this weekend though. We should be alright on that front. As you can just see, want to check over some of the components. We're getting more and more wear on certain parts, but shouldn't be something too much to worry about. Let's get into qualifying then here for the French Grand Prix. Fingers crossed this weekend, more big points on the board. Formula 1 is finally back in 2022, and now you can rep your favourite teams. Of course, using the F1 store, every team now has merch lineups available, whether you're an Aston Martin fan, a Williams fan, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, the choice is completely up to you. But yeah, check out the F1 merch store down below for all the official releases from all of the teams. And of course, as always, if you use our links as well, you massively help support the channel. So yeah, give it a look and see if there's anything you like. Well, qualifying day then here from an incredibly soggy La Castellet, and that really does not play nicely in towards our hand here. I mean, we've got a very quick car down the straights, but it's not the best car through low speed stuff. And of course, in the wet, you're going to find a lot more of the track is lower speed there. So we're going to go out first of all on a set of full wets. We've got about 11.5 minutes left on the clock. I thought we'd let a few of the slower cars just clear some of the standing water. Track is meant to get quicker as the session goes on, but we know how often that isn't the case on F1 22. You know, the rain can cause some pretty strange things on this game in some occasions, but whoa. Yeah, we're going to have to be on our toes here. Going to try and dial in a few laps, just try and get used to the conditions as much as anything else. But this is going to be slippery. Whoa, 5th gear. Yeah, this is, I mean, 6th gear. Keep it out of the wall. Not quite, but we didn't get any damage. This is not fun. I mean, the car is trying to break free absolutely everywhere at the moment. Charles Leclerc's gone fastest onto a 43.9. Of course, we're going to be nowhere near that, thanks to the spin on this lap. But I'm interested to see whether it's going to get dry enough for intermediates later on in the session. A 56.1 somehow puts us P18. That is quite funny. But let's just see then, as we've got a little less fuel in the car and a little bit of experience now around the track, what times we can find there. It's horribly wide through the first couple of turns, but we don't really gain anything from it. Trying to take some go-kart in lines around the second lap there, but down in towards the final couple of turns. I mean, even through there, in 7th gear, you're still worried that the back end's going to try and snap out on you as you head through the final couple of turns, though nice and tidy through the final turn. Hopefully no theatrics there to try and get the car over the curb. 10.4 up's going to bring us round to about a high 45. And that puts us P10 then, quicker than Mick, a bit slower than the Alpines, but that's not bad going. Starting our final lap of qualifying then here from the French Grand Prix, and we have taken a big gamble here. When we were in the pits, the intermediates were still the slower tyre, but but the pace delta was coming down so rapidly, I thought it's got to be worth the gamble. You know, this could be one of those qualifying sessions where you really launch yourself up a grid there as we head through the first couple of turns. Still down in the red slightly, but I wanted to see if we can try and find more pace there as we crawl our way through the end of Sector 1 there. Back end still really struggling for grip, but we've just got to try and keep it clean and tidy. And maybe we'll see an improvement there as well. Trying to get onto the Mistral straight there, 6th gear. And it still broke free. We're going to have to really nail the second half of the lap, as I don't know whether times are improving for the AI there. Gasly has slotted up, so there's definitely a little bit more pace on the full wets, but they're not that much quicker anymore as we head through the Mistral straight chicane. Still half a second down at the moment, but there were a few slip-ups in the second half of the lap there. We need to try and get this final part of the lap nailed. We'll try and get the car down 1 gear. They're actually having to go down 2 just for the extra rotation on the engine brake. But now will the pace come to me in through the final sector of the lap? We're not really losing, but we're not gaining as much as I would like there, as in towards the final few corners of French GP qualifying here. We're just trying not to do anything stupid either, as Carlos Sainz now finds the pace and sets a 43.1. But as we head through the final couple of corners, this has been a gamble that absolutely has not paid off here. Everyone around me is improving. As we head through the final couple of turns, it wasn't the best lap in the world, but it certainly is not going to be an improvement there. And it's P17 on the grid for the French Grand Prix. That is gutting. Well, there we go then, qualifying done and dusted from the French Grand Prix, and it is Carlos Sainz on pole there, 3/10 clear of Lewis Hamilton, in a similar style to what he did at the real-life British Grand Prix just last month there. But Russell P3 ahead of Perez and Daniel Ricciardo. Charles Leclerc will be gutted down in P7, but not as gutted as I am down in P17 there. You can see we just could not find the pace on the final run there. Way out of position for the French Grand Prix, but fingers crossed that means we can fight our way back through on Sunday and hopefully bring home some points. This channel is proudly sponsored by Bybit, the official crypto partner of Red Bull's Formula 1 team. I've been using their platform for my personal crypto savings over the last few months, and when they got in touch to support the channel, I was super excited. Currently, they're offering you guys a special new promo for the first 100 of you to deposit $10 or more onto the platform. You'll get another $10 free. Also, 5 lucky winners will get their initial deposit doubled up to $1,000. That means if you deposited $1,000 onto the platform using my codes below, you could be within a chance to get another $1,000 completely free. We've seen the landscape around crypto drastically change over the last couple of years, and I genuinely believe it holds an important place in our future. However, please be careful as always when trading, as you are liable to lose money. But if you're interested and you're 18 or older, click the link down below to get started and see why Red Bull and myself, as well as thousands of others, trust Bybit as their crypto.
Here we are again then at Le Castellet for another round of this year's Formula 1 World Championship. Renault took their first French Grand Prix win all the way back in the inaugural race in 1906, but it was another 73 years before they could take their second. I'm sure Alpine will be pushing hard to delight the local fans here today. 6 lefts and 9 rights give us a total of 15 corners here at the Circuit Paul Ricard, and a lap covers an overall distance of 3.6 miles. Average speeds will be somewhere in the region of 142 miles per hour, and they'll be maxing out on the Mistral straight at around 205 miles per hour. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. An immense lap from Carlos Sainz yesterday puts him in pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Verstappen, Charles Leclerc and Bottas, Mick Schumacher, Vettel, Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Joe, Ocon, Lance Stroll and Albon, Mr. Monaco, Gasly, Lando Norris, they've taken a grid penalty, and Yuki Tsunoda. Latifi and Daniel Ricciardo fills the last spot on the grid. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
After the points finished last race, let's aim to keep that momentum going.
Right, well here we are then in Le Castellet, and thankfully quite a few penalties there. Surprised McLaren after such a good qualifying session. I've opted to take penalties on both cars there, but that's elevated us up into P15. We have got an even more mixed up grid than we were originally expecting here, as I'm going to try an alternate strategy today. We're going to try and go softs to hards this weekend, and fingers crossed, you know, I mean, we're quick at the start, and then of course we're on the hard tyres like everyone else for the rest of the afternoon here. But yeah, Le Castellet, I say that, we're actually going to go back to normal because Le Castellet is a bit weird when it comes to strategy, so we're going to try and take those medium tyres quite far into the afternoon. But starting P15 tonight, going to be interesting to see how high up we can move up the order. You know, we want to try and keep the points run alive, but I mean, the points are right there. We can see Hamilton, that Mick Schumacher starting P7. Fingers crossed he can bring home a good haul as well. As how come we're starting this without the full battery and my wheel isn't working? Well, as Carlos Sainz leads the way then out of the final corner, he'll be looking to try and take a bit of a cut out of his teammates' championship lead. Of course, 2 races before we get to the summer break, including today, and Sainz will want to try and cut down that near a 40-point margin to his teammate, as we're just going to try and get some temperature into the tyres. It's certainly an erratic way to get to the line, but up towards start-finish line then. Fingers crossed we can line it up. No! No, I just blipped the throttle. Oh, this is not going to go well. Ready on the grid, though, for the French Grand Prix. Waiting on those 5 red lights. And it is lights out, and away we go. And there we go. Actually, pretty good hook up there. So we head down towards turn 1. Lando Norris and the McLaren had a lightning start. So we're going to try and be brave in towards the first corner, as Lando is just going to decide he's going to slice it there as we get around the outside of Alex Albon there. Esteban Ocon, big lockups there, 3 wide, just in front of us. Some people having issues there up the road, as you can just see everyone like a sitting duck through the first couple of corners. So we'll say thank you very much there, as Hamilton's actually lost a place to Zhou Guanyu off the start there, so really not what the Mercedes driver would have wanted this weekend. Like we said, you know, he's got Perez and George Russell all over his gearbox in the championship. As you can see, George Russell all over the back of Carlos Sainz at the start of this race. So we've got a few small reliability gremlins there as Zhou Guanyu, Lewis Hamilton. Oh, look at that from Zhou Guanyu. Really trying to defend the place there. I think Lance Stroll tried to have a look back at the inside of myself, but we have survived the start then of the French Grand Prix. And I mean, up 3 places as well. We can't really complain about all too much as we head through the infamous Messine corner. Making it through there all nice and tidy lap 1. Where is Mick Schumacher? I think he's hung on to P7 there, just ahead of Sebastian Vettel at the start. So fingers crossed our teammate is going to be strong pace today. But I have really still set up the car for dry weather running. So fingers crossed that's going to help us out over the race distance today. As you can already see, Hamilton's still struggling a little bit behind Zhou Guanyu. We're going to send it. We're going to absolutely send it through the final corner there. Tiny bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, but all fair in love and war. And up to P11 then by the end of lap 1. Just 1 place outside the points. And when I thought we were going to get a bad start, I'll take that happily indeed. Right, we're now inside the DRS range then of Zhou Guanyu here. Hamilton, yeah, really struggling a lot more than I thought he would at the start of this Grand Prix. He's not really applying any pressure to us, as we're going to try and get a slow in, fast out run on Zhou Guanyu off the exit of the corner here. Alfa Romeo have really piled on some upgrades in recent weeks, but are we just about going to be able to get the nose to the inside? Oh, we both kind of lifted there. That got a little bit touch and go between myself and Zhou Guanyu. I thought he was just going to turn in on me. I think he thought we just weren't going to lift there, so we probably could have made that happen had we kept our footing and been brave. But yeah, don't want to ruin our race on just lap 3 there. We already almost did that in qualifying. I mean, if we can sit close behind him, maybe we can go for a similar move to what we did to Hamilton at the end of lap 1 there. It's getting all over the back of Zhou Guanyu. Up the inside will go. You can see Zhou Guanyu, he is really trying to defend the places, but can't put the power down on the exit. He might even be vulnerable now to Lewis Hamilton there, as you can see, weaving this way and that to try and defend his place. But Hamilton, he's a wily old fox, he's seen it all in Formula 1, and he will now move up into P12 behind us, P11 even I should say, as yeah, Zhou Guanyu loses 2 spots in one go. Alonso now a couple of seconds up the road, and immediately we've got to try and settle into a rhythm. And I mean, when Bottas, Seb and Alonso are locked into battle, it really doesn't take us long to close in the gap there as we try and put the power down out through turn 5. No, it must be turn 6, sorry, even I mean, on the exit of the hairpin. The only problem we do have is, of course, they're all trapped in a DRS train. I think Bottas still getting a faint toe off Mick Schumacher, who's done brilliantly to get up into P6 and give himself a tiny bit of wiggle room. Yellow flags out behind. That's Zhou Guanyu, I think, falling to the wayside, unfortunately. Might be actually one of the McLarens saying that. Not too sure what's going on. Yeah, I think it is one of the McLarens. So despite putting a fresh engine in the back of both cars there, I think that's Daniel Ricciardo out of the French Grand Prix even. He qualified 5th yesterday, let's not forget. It was a brilliant session by Daniel Ricciardo in the wet, and he's going to have nothing to show for it. Poor old Danny Rick. Well, all over the back now of our big championship rival, Fernando Alonso here in this Grand Prix. I'm sure Alpine would have wanted to be strong this weekend, but their car performance has really fallen off in recent weeks as we try and just get some clean air. And we don't need to worry too much, of course, with the new regs about getting, half the wing was always the trick on previous F1 games. Just try and give yourself a little bit more sticking power to the ground. But we've got to be careful now. Hamilton seems to have just sort of slowly burned into this race. He's just not trying to take too much out of it early on, as we'll have a look up the inside of Fernando Alonso. The final corner isn't often an overtaking place around Le Castellet, but we're making it our own today there, as now we're going to try and leave the former Mercedes driver duo behind us there, as Alonso is never really going to try and make Hamilton's life any easier than he absolutely has to. I think he will outbrake him back at turn 1, but Hamilton will have followed me by another car like he did earlier on. Yes, he will. Lewis Hamilton there, but look at that, Alonso coming back at him. We're just going to try and leave those two to scrap it out behind, I suppose. And immediately they'll drop out the 1 second, but Alonso has reclaimed the place and will stay in the points for now. Well, the massive pace advantage I felt like I had early on in the Grand Prix certainly has eroded over the last couple of laps. We spent a bit more time looking at the Aramco logos on the back of Vettel's car than I'd ever really intended to, but I feel like we have still got a little bit extra at the moment, as we'll jump up the inside of Sebastian Vettel and he'll spot us in his mirrors and kind of jump out of the way there. So I'm at a P9 then now P8 even I should say, of the Grand Prix. We're still making good progress, but it is certainly becoming more slow and steady at this stage of the day. But I mean, Mick Schumacher running up in 6th. If we could get behind him into 7th, maybe act as a bit of a rear gunner for a few laps. Of course, we've still got the question of where Hamilton will come in this race, but it'll mean we pull out good points over McLaren again, and of course Alpine. Team want us on hards in a couple of laps. I'm going to try and extend the stint a little bit longer, but I feel like they want Mick in lap 13. I'm not sure these tires will go 14 laps very comfortably. Oh, here we go. Hamilton now on the offensive on Sebastian Vettel behind us as we head down the Mistral straight. So Hamilton really is here just biding his time today. I mean, for him, really all he can do, unless we get a safety car, is come through for P6 there. How on earth did Sebastian Vettel defend that place? Hamilton was down the inside with a ton of extra momentum, and somehow Sebastian Vettel must have gone around the outside of him and outbroke him into the Mistral straight chicane there. But yeah, like I said, Hamilton really is only going to be able to get P6 here, and he's probably not going to have much of a fight for it either. I think, when he just sort of engages Hammer Tom or something like that, he's going to motor up to P6, and then that gap to the top guys is absolutely massive already, and we're not even at half distance in this Grand Prix, but still hanging on pretty close to Bottas and Mick Schumacher there, as Bottas, every time I've noticed now, through that penultimate corner, is swinging the back end out, trying to get the car darted back over to the left-hand side. But fair play, Seb acting as the rear gunner. I like to see that, as the team want us in the end of this one. I'm not convinced. I reckon we got to try and take it a little bit further, because the undercut, as we all know on F1 22, doesn't work if you're human. Oh, there we go, Bottas in at the end of lap 12 there, as I think, Mick Schumacher's probably going to come in 1 lap later, as a huge gaggle of cars actually into the pit. Seb, myself and Mick all opt to stay out though, and yeah, luckily we're not going to come out around the front runners either. But yeah, now we just got to try and sit close to Mick Schumacher and also make sure we can take these tyres an extra lap after this one. To be honest, I had completely forgot about pitting there, as tyre warning light now flashes on, of course. Please say Mick Schumacher's diving in. Yes, he is at the end of lap 13 there. Like I said, not really ideal for us in terms of strategy, but just didn't want to get undercut either. So we are actually going to lead the Grand Prix, though, here in Le Castellet, albeit just for the one lap. But, you know, you've got to enjoy it. They all still count. They all add up on the tally. Might be the first laps I've led in the Haas Road to Glory, unless I forget something obvious. As, there we go, Carlos Sainz still out in P2. But Verstappen now up into P4 of the Grand Prix. George Russell still hounding the Spaniard, though. But, well, these tyres haven't completely fallen apart, but they're certainly not fun at this stage of the Grand Prix, as we are going to head into the pit lane at the end of this lap. I mean, the AI chuck it into the pit, so I might as well do the same. Oh, I only just got it slowed down there, but you can see, where are we going to re-emerge then in this race? Bottas has got the jump on Mick Schumacher, and to be honest, I'm a little bit worried we're actually going to be closer to Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel here. I think Hamilton is probably going to get the jump on us as well, to be fair, but trying to make sure we get the car slowed down nice and tidily there. Make sure. Come on, nice, clean, tidy. Stop, team, please. 2.5. That's pretty decent. As now we're going to be drag racing back down towards turn 1. I've got to make really, really careful, though, on the cold rubber, because over these bumps can be lethal. So we skim the wall there, but we have actually come out a little bit higher than I was expecting. We're still in P8 then of the Grand Prix, a couple of seconds ahead of Seb and Alonso. But here comes Lewis Hamilton up the inside. Not really too sure this is worth a fight at the moment. Don't often see a mistake like that from Lewis Hamilton. Huge lock up there as we went through turn 3. And we will quite happily take the place, and so will Fernando Alonso. I mean, we should have a tiny pace advantage over Mick and Bottas right through to the checkered flag here, but it could be a little bit handy, you know, if Mick Schumacher got his elbows out and really tried to jump back past the fin. We've got 12 laps to go, though. We're just going to keep trying to close this gap down a few tenths a lap at a time. Oh, there we go. Mick Schumacher side by side with Bottas now as they head up the Mistral straight. And there we go, Mick Schumacher trying to really get his elbows out there, but Bottas not wanting to give up on it. And this is a golden opportunity for us to try and get within the DRS zone, still side by side, as they head up in towards the next couple of turns there, as we head through turn 9, in towards Le Scene. And there we go, Mick Schumacher elbows his way through there on Valtteri Bottas, and now re-inherits P6 of the Grand Prix, as this has allowed ourselves to get back inside the DRS range. With a bit of luck, we'll pick the pair of them off, and then hopefully give Schumacher a bit of breathing room from the fin behind, as George Russell, new fast lap of the day, but he has been really shuffled back behind Leclerc and Verstappen. And I'm sure Gunther Steiner will be on the radio telling us to try and really make a move on Bottas, just to try and relieve some of the pressure off Mick Schumacher, but both myself and the Finn can have the DRS this time around there, as we did get fantastic pickup off the corner, a little bit ragged on the exit of the corner, but look at the run we've got on Valtteri Bottas here to the outside of the Finn. Can we try and make the move work there, open up the corner for ourselves a little bit more? We give him the room, but we will now inherit P7 then of the Grand Prix there. A little bit of a wobble on the exit. Mark liking that one as well, but in towards the final third of this Grand Prix. Now what we could probably ought to do is just give Mick Schumacher a bit of breathing room from Bottas and then try and attack our teammate. How many late race battles are we going to have with Mick Schumacher on F1 22 in the Haas Road to Glory? Right, well, lap 20 then, all over the back of our teammate here. Luckily, we've pushed Bottas a little bit further away, but I think Mick Schumacher really wants to actually try and fight this one out. So we'll see what sort of run we can get on him down the Mistral straight. And look at that, we can't really gain a lot, actually, on Mick Schumacher. We'll save a little bit of battery as we get towards the end then of the straight. Can we go slow and fast out in towards the second half there? Again, not really, as we are hopefully now going to drop Bottas out of the DRS range. That's quite important to do still at this stage. You can see Hamilton less than 2 seconds back once more. So if we do try and get a run on Mick, got to make sure we cost our teammate as little time as possible, and maybe even just try and act and give him the DRS towards the end of this race. But I definitely want P6 here. You know, we could be getting close to 100 points before the summer break. The final corner there got really nice traction that time round. Are we going to be able to get the run on Mick Schumacher as we head back down towards turn 1 there. I want to try and get fully past him, but Mick wants to fight this. It's not what we need. In towards the braking zone there, and Mick Schumacher will try and fight it. We'll get around the outside of our teammate and hopefully drag him along at the first couple of turns, but that has not worked out. And now Bottas is back inside the DRS range. I don't know why Mick, he saw us got the better run, but still decided to use battery down through the first couple of corners there, and now we really are going to have to try and help him out. So we head out onto the back straight there as he is dropping back slightly, but Bottas sadly isn't. Well, 5 laps to go then here from Le Castellet, and we're still trying to help Mick Schumacher by keeping him in the DRS range there and hopefully keeping Hamilton at bay. But I'm not convinced we're really going to be able to do a lot more to try and help him at the moment. Hamilton, yeah, has really made a hash of it today. You know, he should have easily been 10-15 seconds ahead of this whole gaggle of cars, to be honest, and ran on for quite a boring but consistent P6 come the end of this one, but just hasn't made the progress. I mean, when you consider Charles Leclerc only started P7, I think, and he's ended up still P2 in this Grand Prix, not actually far away behind his teammate Carlos Sainz. Yeah, it is quite a surprise from Lewis Hamilton, of course, but Mick Schumacher, you see, gains a little bit down the Mistral straight there. We just use a little bit of battery to make sure he doesn't get too close. That is not the line through there, but yeah, just trying to keep Mick Schumacher close, but not quite close enough. And hopefully, therefore, we can try and teamwork our way to even more big hauls of points. I mean, we've got Hamilton right there, Lando Norris now up inside the top 10 as well. That McLaren is still fast. 3 laps to go then, and this is still working at the moment, but Mick Schumacher is under more and more pressure from Lewis Hamilton each time round. Not too sure why he's not just sat in my slipstream, but he's still just about doing enough at the moment, because of course the other thing we've got to worry about is if Mick does lose the place, Hamilton is immediately going to romp up to the back of me and probably try and get both Haas cars in one go.
We've only got 2 laps of fuel left.
Just about got enough fuel to see us through to the checkered flag, but for now, yeah, our plan is still working. Right, we're rounding the final corner then, about to start the last lap of the French Grand Prix here, and at the moment, myself and Mick Schumacher, for the 3rd weekend in a row, I'm pretty certain, the teamwork is dreamworking, as Lewis Hamilton just cannot find a way past our young German teammate here. But let's not forget as well, at the start of this race, I wanted to try and get back into the points. We started P15 here, but like I said, I really did focus on making sure we had a good solid race car, and I think best of the rest is certainly the big goal more often than not, and to do that once again here would certainly be a very, very good thing there as well. Mick Schumacher, I think, tried to have a look up the inside through turn 5, but couldn't make anything happen of it this time around. Will he have enough, though, as we head down the back straight? I think Mick Schumacher's really going for it this time round. Mick Schumacher, he is going to get to the inside of me, and we've got nothing left, as we're going to go late on the brakes around the outside of our teammate here. This is critical that we don't battle too hard on the final lap, and maybe let one of these guys by there, as Hamilton and Lando Norris now waiting in the wings. As where is Mick finding this pace? Up the inside he's going to go through turn 9 there, side by side with our teammate on the final lap of the French Grand Prix there. As we head in through Scene Corner, we're still going to try and hook it up round the outside, and we just about hang on this time round, as Carlos Sainz is going to take the race victory here in Le Castellet. But Mick Schumacher and I, this could be a drag race to the line, depending on how good traction our teammate gets down in towards the final corner there. He tried to have a look up the inside there, as we've got a horrible run in towards the final turn there. Out of the final corner we go, though. Will Mick Schumacher be able to get the run towards the line? I think we might just have enough, but it's going to be close. We just hang on.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
Ferrari have really pulled it out of the bag today. It's a great win. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection. A shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
Here come our winners now, a thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again. So let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. Well, that lead at the top has somewhat shrunk today. So then, Natalie Pinkham, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
I have to give it to Mr. Monaco. That was a commanding performance today. Very impressive indeed.
Let's move on to the constructors. Ferrari continue to extend the gap at the top of the table. There was also a strong showing from the McLaren team today as they make their way up the standings. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport action. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Well, there we are then, the end of the French Grand Prix, and Carlos Sainz a pretty safe race victory there in the end. But really, Charles Leclerc, a fantastic drive by him to only lose out 6 points to his teammate there. Sergio Perez edges out on the podium ahead of Max Verstappen and George Russell there, and then 25 seconds back. It was a great battle between myself and Mick, less than a tenth between us at the checkered flag. But we walk away with 14 points for the team, so a very, very good haul this weekend. Ahead of Hamilton, Lando Norris and Valtteri Bottas rounding out the top 10 there. And yeah, another really, really good weekend for Haas team there. You can see the rest of your finishes, just Daniel Ricciardo that didn't make it through to the checkered flag. Championship-wise, Perez now leapfrogs both Mercedes with that result there. So a fantastic weekend for him, as apparently we're not going to be able to get a highlights reel. Oh no. But yeah, we're just further extending the gap over Fernando Alonso. There's 76 points now for ourselves. There's 60 for Fernando Alonso, as Mick Schumacher has now almost closed up the gap to Zhou Guanyu, of course carried along by his win at Imola early on in the campaign. Constructors-wise, though, McLaren leapfrog AlphaTauri now up into P7. We, though, again, yeah, just further extending the gap over Alpine behind us. They're up to, what, 17 points now between, 27 points even, I should say, between Alpine and Haas at this stage of the campaign there. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please do make sure you leave a like. Get yourself subscribed as well. And we will return very, very soon with more F1 22 content. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.